All right, I'll start with captains for this year. Offensively, it'll be Sam and George Fant. On defense, McClendon and Marcus May. And then on special teams will be Farley. The guys did a good job as far as, when we tally up the votes to just see how overwhelming those votes were. It was pretty impressive to see this group. It's a good group of captains. As far as injuries go, today, P. Ryan will be out of practice. Limited will be Alex Lewis, Joe Flacco, Marcus May, Basham, and Avery. And then we should be pretty good full go with the rest of these guys. So, starting today being kind of our first day of actual practice, heading into the first week of the season. Looking to get a lot of good work done today. It's unusual because we haven't played a preseason game or anything like that. So, we still got a lot of work to do. So without any questions you guys have.
Are you excited, Adam, to have both what looks like to be Perryman and Mims a full go today?
Yeah. I mean, the fact that we got more guys back, to see this list kind of starting to shrink is it's kind of nice.
How is Marcus May doing, Adam?
He's doing good. I mean, just watching him running, and doing all the things that the training room is trying to just get him as healthy as possible. We're just being a little cautious. Being a calf injury. Last year we lost Jordan there for a little bit. I mean, those things take a minute to come back from when you get to the extreme like Jordan got last year. So we're just trying to make sure that we don't lose him for any longer than where we're at right now.
Back to the captains real quick, Adam. I think the vast majority of these guys are kind of ones that you'd expect. Font is one that's a little surprising, free agent signing first year, and even when you guys signed him, he was kind of a relative unknown. Can you just talk a little bit about him and what you've seen from him both on the field and off the field since he's come to the building?
When you watch him operate day in and day out, the way he practices, guys gravitate to him. I think a lot of guys have seen how, what he's tries to help Makai. He's a vocal guy in that locker that room, that offensive line room. There's something about George that's impressive. The way that he handles his business day in and day out, very professional. Offensively, learning a new offense, ask great questions. Wants to understand the why behind so much of really everything that we do. I mean, the guy I've been super impressed with just how he is. I mean, I'm excited to get going and see how this line gels together.
Adam, do you have a feel personally for having been around in your second year here, how much better you can be? Now that you've acclimated and you kind of know obviously despite a lot of new faces. And what kind of things did you learn out of last year that maybe would make you better this year as a head coach?
Yeah, every year you do this. We're going in, this is my fifth year doing this. So, things just, it changes so much as far as what becomes important to you and how you manage your time and how you maneuver around the building, especially, this unusual year, obviously. But I don't know, it just seems like the flow is it's smoother. For me, I feel like, every year it seems a little different. It's just, what to focus on. I think the communication with Sam has been outstanding. Obviously we're both, it's just so much more comfortable because he's not afraid to ask questions of, bigger detailed type questions, big picture type things. And I think that relationship keeps growing, communication with the players, guys either texting, calling, stopping by, it's a different flow. Year two is always going to be better than year one.
How do you feel about Joe Flacco? With Joe Flacco being limited, Is this about where you expected him to be? Is that a little surprised that he's able to practice to some degree? And could he conceivably be available on Sunday, having not done anything all summer?
Yeah, I mean, we'll kind of, when we get to that point, we'll kind of see how this week goes. But I'm not really surprised. I mean, just watching him work and kind of seeing how he's been progressing. I mean, it's just like one of those injuries. You're just never sure how fast or how slow that's ever going to be. So I think just seeing him throwing on the side and doing his conditioning and the workouts that he's been doing, I'm not surprised that he's practicing. We'll just keep progressing from here and just see where it takes us.
How does Sam's familiarity with the offense, help you move faster on game day, like play in and play out?
Yeah, I mean, it just you'll start noticing it is he won't be waiting for, when I'm calling plays, he won't be waiting to hear the whole thing. You'll see him start moving, into the huddle or at the line of scrimmage before I even finish. I mean, it's just the rhythm and cadence is so much different in year two. You're not thinking of, wait a minute, what was this and where does this guy go? It just becomes almost like reactionary. And it's almost like you're on autopilot and you see a guy going the wrong way, you grab him up, you're over here, and you're not thinking about it. You're not that picture's already there in your head and you're just kind of reacting to it, to where instead of being like, wait a minute, where was this guy supposed to be? And if a guy asks, hey, what do I got? It's not a, you're not sitting there going, okay, he's got this because he's in this spot. It's just kind of like reaction. And that changes a lot for a quarterback, because now you're not worried about it. You're reacting to all that stuff and you're focused on, hey, what's the defense doing? All right, hey, I got to do this in the protection. Here's where the ball needs to go. I mean, it's a lot of things happening really fast, but it's amazing what a guy's brain can do, just the more familiar that he gets with all these little situations and system type things.
Adam, it seems like you were, if we're to believe the things we've heard over the time, when you were hired, a big part of your reason you were hired was because of your work with quarterbacks. Do you feel a bit of pressure year two with Sam to, for the two of you guys to make large advancements, from last year, this year? I mean, there were circumstances last year with the mono that obviously derailed things, but, second year in, what kind of expectations do you have for him and you, as a tandem? I
mean, we both just talked about kind of last year how we felt like we could have been so much better than what we were, And I get it. The mono kind of threw some things off for us, and then we were battling, some changes and injuries, and it was just like nothing was ever really. It never was smooth. And I do think we got to a point where it was different. We had some consistency. We had a lot of the same guys out there. I felt like everybody was really, picking up on what we were doing and how we wanted to attack week in and week out. And we're both where we're at right now as far as our communication and things like that. We're excited to get going. We're excited to get this group heading in the right direction and finding ways to improve each week. And I mean, I guess I always, my expectations and his expectations are always going to be extremely high. I mean, that's why we do this. And we might not talk about it, but publicly. But me and him, when we're together, our expectations are always going to probably be a lot higher than everybody else's.
Beyond the communication you just touched on with Sam, offensively, why do you think you'll be better this year than you were last year?
Well, I do think the chemistry that we have, as the unit up front is key. Obviously, Sam another year in the offense. I like our running back situation. I feel like we got a lot of variety we can do there. Having Chris Herndon back, having multiple receivers that can create explosive plays. I think Crowder being in year two is a big deal, and now you add Barrios in there. You got Mims that he's going to be able to practice. I mean, there's a lot of things that I'm excited about that are pointing us in the right direction.
Adam, I think a lot has been made about Sam being in your offense for a second year, but I think this is the first time since Peyton where you're going to be working with the same quarterback back-to-back years, because Ryan had gotten hurt in 2017. So does that help you at all? Like, is there a flip side to this?
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to see the same guy out there. 17 was unusual because Ryan got hurt at the end of 16, went all through spring, and we were feeling good going into 17, and then we get 10 practices in, and then he blows his knee out. So then that was a full restart, and this being, we had finished the season off the right way. I know we didn't have spring practice, but I feel like the value was he spent so much time with meeting time. And all those little tiny details, we weren't rushing the install. We weren't rushing, hey, let's get this corrected on the field. We were able to just keep combing through all these little, film sessions and playbook stuff and installs, and then being able to start it back over in training camp, and then now go in practice to where when we were installing stuff, it wasn't like an avalanche of information for him. He already had it all. It was just we're reviewing, and now we're taking it onto the field and then correcting it. So, it was a completely different situation. It's really different than anything I've been through before, because you've never had that much time to meet in the offseason, because you were always like, when you hit phase 2, you're correcting a bunch of stuff, footwork and routes and all that, and then same thing in OTAs, and then trying to dump a bunch of install on the guys. I mean, spring was like a full, it was all just knowledge.
Adam, if the team finishes with a losing record for the second straight year, do you think it's fair for Jets fans to want a new head coach after this?
Well, let's get to week 1. Let's get to week 1, see what happens. I love your positivity, though, Charles. That's good. I'm glad that you're worried about week 16 already. Let's get to week 1.
What can I say?
Hey, Adam, can you speak to the conditioning factor in this game, with having had no preseason games, and how important is depth going to be, and how important maybe you might rotate more than normally, because these guys haven't played 60 or 70 snaps?
Yeah, Rich, I don't want to give away our game plan or anything, but you make a really good point. There is a big difference. That's why when everybody's always talking about no preseason games, okay, now we're all worried that there's no preseason games. So it's kind of, I know you guys enjoy that part of kind of playing both sides of the coin here, but when you play that first preseason game, even though it might be 5 to 10 plays, there's something about that game day environment, the anxiety, the ramp up, and then you get to that third one, it's more. Then you get to the first regular season game, and then it's even more. And the game turns and the speed just increases. It's incredible. And then when you get in a playoff game, then it's a completely different deal. And yeah, that's definitely, the amount of plays that we've done in practice compared to what's going to be in a game. And then at the same time, you're thinking about everybody's going to be ramped up because it's first game. We got to play this smart. We got to make sure that keep working on our conditioning. We got to make sure that we do a good job of getting guys, whoever's active. And everybody's got to be ready to contribute. And we got to look at this thing as, all right, how are we gonna play it? And this, something we've been talking about for the last 2 weeks.
How will your travel be different with COVID restrictions? Will you guys go later in the day on Saturday? What are you guys doing differently?
Yeah, we backed it up a little bit. We weren't like super aggressive. We had a nice little delay last year when we were going to Jacksonville. I think it was Jacksonville, where it was kind of like, well, do we leave at 5:30 or 6? Do we get in really late? But I think that kind of stuck with me a little bit of like, what if we have one of those deals and all of a sudden you're rolling in there at 1 or 2 in the morning? Then you're kicking yourself going, oh, if we would have just left normal, then we would have been fine. But yeah, that was something that we discussed for a long time. We kind of got to a point where we met it in the middle, tried to push it back a little bit because we can't go anywhere. Like once you're there, you're there, and hey, we're locked in and getting ready for the game.
Do you think Sam has enough weapons to have a successful season?
Yes. I like the guys that we got. I like the weapons we got. I feel like everybody's forgetting about some of these guys that we didn't have last year. Chris Herndon was a pretty good player that first year that they played together. And just getting him back alone I'm pretty fired up about. And, adding Frank Gore with Le'Veon, and then you start adding P. Ryan in there. You start adding Perryman, Mims, Barrios, Chris Hogan. I feel pretty good.
How do you feel about Beckham going into the week here? And what does it do for an offensive coach when you see someone like that, that you can rely on bigger and stronger than most guys.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably one of the biggest humans I've ever been around. I mean, you stand next to him, you can feel small very quickly. I've been really impressed with how he's operated. He works extremely hard. His intelligence when he came in, of the grasp of the offense, I was impressed with whatever he did from spring to summer to training camp. He must have really studied and made sure that he knew all the things that he took from the spring to the summer. He made sure he absorbed those. I know he's got a tough matchup this week for his first time out with no real game experience, and this is what it is in the NFL to be a left tackle. You're not going to face a lot of guys where it's going to be easy. Every week's a challenge, but that's why those guys get paid the amount of money they get paid, and that's why they get drafted as high as they get drafted. Is those guys expect to go against the best guy all the time, and I think his confidence is very high, and I love the way it works. I mean, he keeps doing what he's doing. He's going to be a good player for a long time.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, guys. Have a good one.